I'm Kelly Vaughn, and welcome to Inside Indy. And today we're going to be talking about chiropractic care. Everything you've ever wanted to know, but were afraid to ask. And here with the answers is Dr. Shelly Barkat. And you are a doctor of chiropractic care, right?
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You brought your little friend along. Does it have a name?
No, it's just the model spine.
Model spine. Okay. So that's what we're going to be talking about, spinal care today. And, you know, we were talking about off the air, even the word chiropractic, chiropractor, that it seems a little foreign to a lot of people.
Sure.
So explain to people what it is and what you do.
Sure. So chiropractic, the word is rooted in Greek. So chiro means hands-on. So it's a hands-on practice. So in that regard, it seems very well received and defined as to what a chiropractor would do. It's manual care, it's hands-on care for pain, but then for preventative factors as well, because your anatomy necessarily won't change. You have one body, you get one body, and so you have to take care of it. So an initial visit or an example of what a patient could expect when they would come to see me is they would get some imaging done. If they don't already have some, x-rays and MRI, maybe later after a few visits have gone by to see how the patient is progressing or the symptoms are reducing or not. And if they're persistent, then we further investigate. But initially an x-ray, and then that is when your spine will show up. So necessarily you won't have a model spine, but that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the disc space, I'm looking for bony health, and any other changes that would show up on x-ray.
Okay, and I need to add that you're with the Indiana Spine Group.
I am.
And so there, you are the chiropractor there.
And we have another.
Another.
So there's two.
And then you also have surgeons.
Correct. We're multi-specialty. So I work alongside our physical therapists. There's a very strong synergy there between physical therapists and manual care providers, chiropractic care. And then we also have minimally and non-invasive physicians and surgeons as well.
Okay, and I think that is so cool because it seems to me, and it's just me, that my perception is always you've been separated to separate practices.
Correct.
But this is kind of unique.
Yes, unique is the perfect word for it because these very forward-thinking physicians have embraced a wide array of modalities and specialties to treat patients with pain. And that's really the beauty of Indiana Spine Group is that we offer so many options for conservative care to treat patients without jumping straight to something more invasive. An example would be an injection or prescriptions. But, I mean, we have to face that patients have to get along or get on with their lifestyle. And that's my main priority is their quality of life. So, I mean, gosh, if you have to have, you know, a prescription to go along with corrective care, then so be it. And then you can actually function while you're receiving conservative corrective care. And then that's true reduction in symptoms and maybe even some healing.
Okay, you mentioned symptoms. So who comes to see you? Why and when do I need to see a chiropractor?
So I've kind of tried to relay this sort of definition of chiropractic care into primary pain care. So if you have acute pain, if you throw your back out shoveling snow or just at work sitting at your desk even, there's a wide variety of causes that can stimulate inflammation or symptoms, then seek manual care or conservative measures first and see if we can actually get some correction and some at-home care that can address the inflammation, okay? Imaging is always important. I alluded to that earlier because I need to know the anatomy. Why did this happen? I'm treating the cause. And then, you know, in that discussion, you know, are there any underlying conditions? So the other thing about chiropractic care is we don't always adjust. I don't only adjust. I'm actually finding out the root and cause of your pain, and then we'll decide what treatment modalities will integrate into helping you get back to your normalcy.
Okay, so who most often comes to see you? What are their situations when they come in the door?
I mean, I see kids. I've had a 5-year-old with headaches, and I see 99-year-olds with just stiffness. So I see the entire family, circles of friends, which I adore. I have patients who I have seen single, get married. I treat their wife, their family, they have kids. You know, I mean, I just see the general population for pain, let's say shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, knee pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, okay? And then, you know, if a referral needs to happen because the symptoms are persistent or it's out of my scope, then I walk with you through that journey too. And I make that referral. I order the imaging, the MRI, whatever it needs to happen.
Okay, and of course right there at the Indiana Spine Group, if you have to take it to another area or another level, they're right there.
It's so efficient.
Yeah.
It is so efficient. I walk over to my right hand. She schedules for me, and you know, we'll get the patient in, you know, that day, the next day. I mean, it's not months and months that you're waiting to see somebody.
That's I feel relieved just you saying that, and I'm not even needing to go right now. Anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now the times that I've needed to go to see a chiropractor, I'm trying to think what was going on, and that's what I was thinking about, like, you know, work injuries, which was not the case here. But I'm thinking you get people that your eyes are like fluttering like that. Is that a common situation at the workplace?
It happens to the best of us. It happens to the best of us. I get so many patients and they're so worried and stressed out about, why do I have back pain? It's like catching a cold. It can happen to anybody, just picking up a pencil. It's about your anatomy and how you move throughout the day. It's called microtrauma. And it just kind of adds up, especially if we're not hydrated, doing safe stretches for our particular anatomy or exercises for our particular anatomy, and just kind of what we do day in and day out. So I really comb through all of those things with my patients. Like, what are you doing? Are you sleeping on your stomach? How are you sitting? Those kind of things.
Dr. Barkat, you know, when we think about experiencing pain, we also think about, oh, is it going to be painful when I go to the chiropractor?
Absolutely. So there are different levels of manual care that I provide for my patients. Typically, I assess range of motion, go through a variety of orthopedic exams, of course, imaging, and really try to diagnose that this is truly neuromusculoskeletal. Beyond that is, you know, there's a lot of muscle relaxation techniques that I apply first. There are modalities such as muscle stimulation that really helps promote circulation to reduce inflammation in that area. These are all things that are going to help reduce the pain while you're in office with me.
Wow.
And then if we choose that an adjustment or mobilization of the joint is the next step in our treatment plan, then we'll do that too. Everything I do is within my patient's comfort level. There are instruments that can be used to mobilize the joint as well. It's called an activator, and it's a simple impulse that actually moves the joint without putting my patient in range of motion or putting any thrust on the patient. So that is extremely comfortable for my very acute patients who can barely walk or move when they're in office. And then gradually, as you get better and better, on average for me, it's about 10% improvement after every visit. That's what I see in my patients. And then we can be a little bit more involved in the mobilization if it requires range of motion or positioning.
Several times that when I've been to the chiropractor, and sometimes there are adjustments being made, and I can hear the crack, but you think it hurts, but it doesn't hurt. It's you're just anticipating.
Sure.
And actually, I feel a lot better. Even oftentimes when I'm getting up and leaving, it's
That's
like,
right.
okay, I can feel some relief. And so, so when people are afraid of that, don't be, because it really it does help.
Yes, that audible is simply gas leaving the disc. Typically, the audible happens prior to the actual adjustment. It seems simultaneous, but it's really prior to. And then the thrust is actually what moves the joint. And the movement of the joints reduces pressure or irritation of the nerve roots that exit the posterior aspect of the vertebral bodies, these square, bony prominent or bony structures are called the vertebral bodies. And then the spinal cord itself lives in the back of it. It's a very precious part of our anatomy because there's not a whole lot securing it or stabilizing it. That's why most of us get some sort of neck or back pain. Wow. The other thing I just want to touch on is the reason why you hear very commonly about neck pain and low back pain, because those two regions of the spine are like our MVPs. They're our major players, okay? They do all of our ranges of motion more than the thoracic spine does. It really sits more on the sidelines. So that's why they get injured most commonly.
Okay.
They sacrifice their stability for mobility.
Okay. Well, I have to have you come back sometime because I had some more
Great.
questions, but we're out of time.
I'd love to.
But thank you so much for enlightening us and making us feel so much better
Thank you for
about
having me.
seeing a chiropractor. And you guys just do phenomenal work, and I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much.
All right. Dr. Shelly Barkat with the Indiana Spine Group, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us. I'm Kelly Vaughn. When we come back, we'll have more from, there's a big project downtown where they're digging in a tunnel.
Oh.
We're going to find out more about that after this. And we're back here on Inside Indy, and you may or may not know this, but as we speak, about 250 feet below our city, they are digging. There's something, I don't want to say interesting going on, almost seems sinister, but not. And here to talk about the big dig that's going on in Indianapolis, they are Mike Miller. You're manager of construction?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, for Citizens Energy Group, which we're going to talk about your role in this project, and then we have Laura O'Brien, and she is Corporate Communications Coordinator for Citizens Energy Group. Welcome to Inside Indy.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And I love Citizens Energy because they bring my gas to my house and keep me warm in the winter, and so I appreciate that so much. They call it Dig Indy Tunnel System. So who wants to go first in telling people what is going on? Because a lot of people don't know this is happening under our city.
You're right.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
He knows
Mike.
it all.
So the portions of Indianapolis's sanitary system are combined, and what that means is when it rains, the stormwater actually goes into the sanitary system, and depending on how hard it rains, the system can be overwhelmed, and that combined sewage then flows to the river. So, based on a consent decree, which is a federally binding document with the EPA, we have to clean up that combined sewer system. The Dig Indy program is really the backbone of how we're cleaning it up, and it's a 28-mile long tunnel system under Indianapolis, and we're building about 250 feet deep, and it's going to actually hold sewage during wet weather or rain events.
He just said that like, no big deal. And I guess that's why you are the manager of construction. So, and I'm going, huh? Because we're trying to imagine, first of all, 250 feet below ground, but want to get back to the initial sewer system. So,
Sure.
Explain how that works again. When our sewage leaves our homes and goes into the sewage system, it goes where?
It goes to a treatment plant, one of two treatment plants in Indianapolis, where we treat it and then release it back into the White River. However, those same pipes actually carry the storm water when it rains. So the storm sewers or the roof drains all flow into those same pipes. And what happens is the treatment plants can't keep up with all of that flow, and the pipes don't have the capacity to hold all of that flow.
Gotcha.
So rather than back up into the streets and sewers or into people's basements, it's actually designed to overflow into the river system.
Wow. So sometimes then our rivers are cleaner than other times, depending on whether that overflow. Okay, gotcha. 250 feet below, I'm trying to put that in perspective. So that's how many stories?
25 roughly.
25 stories below.
We like to provide a frame of reference relative to the monument down, excuse me, the downtown monument, the
Soldiers and Sailors.
Soldiers and
Monument.
Sailors.
Yep.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I just say monument
Yeah,
circle.
the
Monument circle,
yeah.
yeah.
So if we were to put the Soldiers and Sailors monument underneath Indianapolis, 250 feet, just Lady Victory would be sticking out above the ground.
Oh my gosh.
It's deep.
Very deep.
It's deep. Now, where did this idea come from? I mean, and is this a common solution in other cities and other parts of the world?
It is a common solution, and it's been conceived since the early 2000s. And in 2006, the city actually committed to the federal EPA to build the project by the end of 2025.
Okay, so now the tunnel itself, are we just digging, first of all, how wide is it?
So it's 20 feet in diameter.
Wow, okay. And so will it just be dirt surrounding it, or is it, what's on the inside of the tunnel?
So we're actually in the bedrock. So we mine the tunnel through the bedrock, and then when we're done, we will install a 1 foot thick concrete liner. So the inside will be concrete.
Okay, now, I am not a geology major.
No.
So take us, and again, this is your area of expertise.
Sure.
So how far down, like when you go the first 15 feet, what, just dirt, and then you hit this other, and what do you refer to it as?
Bedrock.
Bedrock.
Yeah. So in Indianapolis, generally there's about 100 feet of soil over the bedrock, and we're about another 150 feet into the bedrock from there.
Wow. Okay. So you're digging rock through rock.
Yes.
How do you do that? What are you using?
It's a very specialized machine. It's called a tunnel boring machine, or you'll hear us refer to the TBM. And it was built. Our tunnel boring machine actually spent a lot of its life in New York digging subway tunnels and water tunnels. And it was refurbished and brought to Indianapolis specifically for this project.
Okay, because a lot of the subway tunnels in New York obviously were done many, many years ago. So is this technology's just been around like forever? Or?
The type of machine we're using was fairly common in the 70s and 80s. We have very good rock in Indianapolis, so the level of sophistication of the machine doesn't necessarily need to be modern day.
Okay, and good rock means what? Easy to
Easy to mine. It's strong, but it's not overly abrasive.
Wow. Okay. So I guess in the citizen's mind, we think, is the topsoil going to collapse because you're digging this hole through our city X amount of miles?
No, the answer is no. We're deep for a reason, and that's because of how competent the bedrock is at that particular depth. And so when we mine, we do actually support the rock as well. So no real possibility of collapse.
Okay, so where are we now in the project? How far have we gotten?
Well, we actually opened the first 10 miles at the end of December. So of the 28-mile tunnel, we now have 10 miles open. And thus far, so those 10 miles are now in operation. And thus far, that segment has prevented more than 300 million gallons of sewage from entering our waterways. So just by having those first 10 miles open, we're already making a difference.
But the 10, they're not going to be connected to the other 28?
Yes, yeah, it's a 28-mile system, so we've opened the first 10. And then we will continue to open segments as they're completed along the way.
So how do you do that when stuff is coming down? Again, I know I'm speaking
No, that's
from
a
layman.
great question actually. The end of the first 10 miles is actually sealed off. So
I got you.
we're working south to north, and as we go as we go north, we get to another milestone. We'll then take that, it's called a bulkhead. We'll take that bulkhead out of the tunnel. We'll put a new bulkhead in the tunnel, so we will open it segmentally as we continue north.
And how tall is it? You said 20 feet wide.
It's round. Yeah.
Yeah, so how tall?
20
it's
feet.
20 feet.
Yeah.
All around.
18 feet when it's finished after the concrete liner is put in place.
So a machine does this, but is it like mining? Or do you sending people down there to do they do anything when you get down there? Or is it just the machine does it for you?
No, absolutely. There's usually between about 12 and 15 workers underground with the machine, because the machine is, it's actually quite interesting. It's about 450 feet long, and it weighs, I believe, close to 450 tons. and it's run off of electricity. So we have to basically have a big extension cord. So every foot that the tunnel boring machine goes, we have to put another foot of extension cord or another foot of conveyor belt to get the rock out of the hole. So there's a lot of actual underground utilities to support the machine while it's mining.
How do they get down there?
Oh, well, I can tell you because I have been down there.
You went down. You went down there.
I've been down there, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but you actually go to
It's called the launch shaft.
the launch shaft, yes. So you get there. There's a very large round cage, essentially, and you hop in the cage, and a crane actually picks it up, moves it, and then lowers it down into the shaft. And it's fascinating. I was a little bit scared before I went down because it wasn't anything I was familiar with before at all. But it's really fascinating to go down there and see everything that's going on. And it's a well-oiled machine down there. Everybody has a job. Everybody's moving. They all know what they're doing. And it's an interesting place to be when you're not familiar with those kinds of settings. But it's very interesting.
Wow, I think I'd be scared to death. So when's this supposed to be finished?
It has to be finished by the end of 2025, but we actually have staged milestones. So as Laura mentioned, the first 10 miles was open in 2017. We'll open up about another close to 10 miles by the end of 2021, and then the final legs in 2025. So we get beneficial use out of the system as we continue to construct.
Okay, now we're just about out of time, but I got a quick question. So when the stuff goes down there, is it just that big? That's just you can just keep adding stuff for years and years, or what happens to that stuff?
No, it will actually all flow to our treatment plant where we'll have to pump it out and treat it. So after the rain event passes and the plant has capacity, we'll then take what's in the tunnel and put it into the treatment plant for treatment. And the tunnel will actually see flow approximately up to 60 times a year.
Okay, so it's a storage facility.
It's just a big underground fancy storage tank.
Why'd you just say that? A big old storage facility. Wow, I think this is fascinating, and I just appreciate you so much coming in. Anything else? We got about 30 seconds left that we need to know.
Yeah, I'd love to mention the Dig Indy art project that we have going on. We've partnered with several local artists to transform manholes into works of art along the cultural trail.
Wow.
So they have created they've been inspired by our waterways. They've turned that into a work of art. So by the end of the summer, you'll be able to see all of those manholes along the cultural trail.
Wow.
We're really excited.
I love it. This is so cool. I want to thank you both for coming in. Mike Miller, Laura O'Brien from the Citizens Energy Group. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us here on Inside Indy. I'm your host, Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.